Tom, I had the chance to speak to Jean Charest the other day, and among other things, asked about this whole situation, of course, out of Alberta, Danielle Smith going on about, potentially separation or putting it on a referendum. I want you to hear what he had to say. Here you go.
We have been there. We know what the consequences are, and I certainly would not encourage them to go down that rabbit hole because they're going to spend a lot of time and energy on something that's not going to lead to anything very constructive, as opposed to having their issues acknowledged by the Prime Minister and addressed.
So let's start with that. Your take on that and also on what he said.
Well, I think that the last part of what he said is exactly the play of Danielle Smith, and that's why she's talking about it. She's trying to avoid saying that it's her idea and that she's the one who's going to be carrying it out. So what she's saying is it's going to be up to the people of Alberta if they want to ask for a referendum, but if there is one, then she's going to follow their will. Now, I have zero doubt that the people of Alberta will never vote to separate from Canada. I am absolutely convinced that Danielle Smith is a much better politician than a lot of people give her credit for, but this is playing with matches inside a powder shed. This is not fun. This is not something to be toyed with. It's the nation, it's its future, it's how we all get along, and I know that Danielle Smith wants the new government to behave in a way that helps her province. That's what every provincial leader wants, but you don't do it by threatening, even indirectly, and by playing a game to blow up the country to get your way.
Now, I should point out for people wondering why you sound like you're 5 million miles away, you're driving from where to where right now?
I'm driving from beautiful downtown Montreal, trying to make my way to the Laurentians and where I live. And I have to tell you that I've seen bad traffic, but I've never seen anything like today. It's just not moving. So it took about an hour and a half to get to Laval and another half an hour to get to the end of Blainville. So you can just see how much fun it is.
Any idea why this was there an accident somewhere? Do you know why this is happening?
Just everybody trying to get out of town because the weather's lousy and they figure they can make a fire in the country, put their feet up and be in a much better place than in town. And you know what? See. They're right.
Yeah, they're all going to your house. Okay, so that said, let me move on and talk about another situation here today. We heard now in the report just a few minutes ago, Jason, on the news, we are going to see the new cabinet announced by Mark Carney, and that's coming up on Tuesday when he's officially sworn in. Are you expecting any big changes here?
Well, I listened to the clip that you played from my friend and colleague Scott Reed just a few minutes ago, and I share his view completely. They didn't just let Carlos Letao run. They brought him in. They recruited him, and they didn't recruit him to put him in a minor role. They recruited him because they want him to be the finance minister. Look, the real finance minister, no matter who's going to be in there, is going to be Mark Carney. But he's going to quickly learn that he doesn't have time to take care of that, so he needs somebody who's like-minded. That's not the case of François-Philippe Champagne, who's not got the background or the training as a banker or in finance. He's a good businessman, but he doesn't have that deep experience. Letao and Carney speak the same language, come from the same background, would get along great, and I completely agree with what Reed said at the end, is that Letao has a tremendous track record. You know, they were always complaining at the GAC that the Liberals under Philippe Couillard, with Carlos Letao as finance minister, were all about austerity. Yeah, they were all about austerity, but the province was not bankrupt. And so I think that he's got a great track record. He'll straighten out Canada's finances, and I sincerely hope it's him.
Which kind of begs the question, is François-Philippe Champagne the odd man out here? You remember the question that came up to Mark Carney right at that press conference, asking when he'd announce his cabinet, and is François-Philippe Champagne in it? He said, why? Did he ask you to ask me that question?
Yes, he will be in cabinet for sure. He's got tons of talent, but he's just not going to be finance minister.
Okay.
He'll probably, if I had to make a 25-cent bet, this guy's got tons of energy. He's got connections across the country, and he would be an absolutely amazing transport minister. And frankly, if I were the guy putting this together, I would give him a parliamentary secretary by the name of Tim Watchhorn, who won an implausible victory in the Pays d'en-Haut riding in the Laurentians. Complete Bloc Québécois territory. Aaron, the guy won by 3,000 votes. He's a deeply experienced engineer. He does infrastructure projects all year long on top of being the mayor of his municipality. So he knows about municipalities, he knows about engineering, and he would be he'd learn the ropes with an experienced and seasoned guy like François Philippe Champagne.
Wow, nice referral, Tom. That's very, very nice. Well, we shall see. We'll find out on Tuesday. Pardon me. Do you think Stephen Guilbeault, and I know Scott brought that up as well, does he stay here, Stephen Guilbeault, in the ministry as Quebec lieutenant?
No, I don't see that happening at all. No.
Okay.
He doesn't know the secret handshake of Quebec, and I think that the people around Carney figured he did. But no, it didn't go very well for him after he was named. I can remember his first interview. It was the day that the Liberals managed to scupper the TVA debate, and it was not a successful interview that he gave to Paul Larocque. So, no, I would say that Guilbeault will be very lucky to hold on to cabinet by the skin of his teeth. Because it's going to be a much smaller cabinet. Trudeau put everybody in cabinet because he wanted to try to keep everybody happy. So he had a very unwieldy bureaucracy instead of having a lean, mean fighting machine. Carney's going to put together a lean, mean fighting machine.
All right, we find out on Tuesday. I would ask you as well, Tom, if you're heartened by today, the announcement by U.S. Ambassador to Canada, 2 words, it's done, referring to Trump's 51st state comments saying they're behind us.
I was relieved to hear that, and I think it's a reflection of the success of the Carney-Trump meeting earlier in the week, and that's a good thing because it was just the type of carnival distraction that Trump loves, but it absolutely serves no purpose. So good if that one's over for now. And the other thing that he also said was basically UK's got its deal. Now you can be almost next on the list, but UK's dealings with the United States are minuscule compared to Canada's, 1. And 2, Trump, I know this is going to come as a total shock, but he said that wasn't true. I know it's disappointing.
What?
But he said that the deal with the UK was complete and final.
Right.
Unfortunately, of course, that was impossible because you can't have a complete and final trade deal just because you've agreed on some principles of how to negotiate. But even though it was BS, like usual, at least we know that they're going to be sitting down and hammering out a deal because Trump absolutely needed to prove that he could have a deal with somebody. So why not with the UK and the next have to be Canada, U.S., Mexico? Yeah,
I will point out to what you said in talking to Amanda Lang earlier, right? When you look at analysis of this deal that he claims, look, first deal got done, there are very few details here outside of, the UK now will apparently invest or spend $10 billion buying Boeing aircraft, but everything else seems to be sort of in play. It's not even close to being a done deal, is it?
Of course not. It's pure bluff. In other words, it's pure Donald Trump. He's a carnival barker. He's a con man, convicted criminal. He's the guy, but he's the president of the United States, so we just got to deal with it. Even though he doesn't live in reality, he is part of our reality.
Okay. You take heart, by the way, if I can, just to what you said a minute ago, the fact that there is a deal being done with the UK whenever it does finally get done, that augurs well for Canada, right? That's what you're suggesting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because you're going to try to make deals with the people who are closest to you and then try to, compel the much tougher customers like China look, this is the way of the world. Everybody's making deals with us and you're going to be the odd man out. I mean, it was passing strange to hear Trump warn Americans that their kids would not get toys for Christmas. I mean, talk about being the Grinch 6 months in advance, but that's what he's trying to set us up for.
Yeah, you don't need $30. You could live with just 2 or 3. I think those were his words.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we all know that.
Tom, enjoy the drive. I hope you make it there before nightfall.
2.7 kilometers an hour. It should go well.
Jeez, what a mess on the Laurentian Otter Route. Okay. Tom, have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Take care, man.